Christine Pham-Cutaran, and I am a mom of two boys with varying degrees of eczema. As a caregiver, I never expected to be a caregiver for someone with severe atopic dermatitis. My son was diagnosed at an early age. He was about 2 weeks old when I started noticing signs of a rash that was much more than the typical newborn rash that you see. And I was hesitant to think it was more severe than it was, because I just didn't want it to be more severe than it was. But we touched base with our pediatrician often, and it just progressively got worse. So about 2 months of age was when he was diagnosed by a pediatric dermatologist that he was battling atopic dermatitis. We had tried various treatments, and everything from holistic to home remedies to Western medicine, topicals, orals, medication, you name it, we tried it. And about 6 months of age was when we noticed a decline in his health. And my son was admitted to a children's hospital due to blood work that indicated that he should be having seizures due to low sodium, as well as cardiac arrest due to his triglycerides. He just had a crazy blood work, and that landed us in the hospital. What turned into a 9-day hospital stay with various testings done. Everything led to, a negative result or, progression of him getting better on systemic treatments and whatnot, but his skin was still a mess, and they decided to call in the burn victim unit and have him wet wrapped with steroids applied first. And of course he got better, but he was never fully better, if that makes sense. His skin was always glossy, and I called him the slip and slide baby because I felt like every time I held him, he would just slip right through my fingers due to the steroids. But once he was released from the hospital, and we were continuing with a regimen that we were sent home with by the dermatologist, he was starting to progress backwards in his skin, and we just felt like there was no hope at that point. So as you can imagine, being a first-time mom to a child with severe atopic dermatitis, as a caregiver, I felt helpless, and I didn't know what to do other than stress and feel like I was harming my own child. He was 2 months when he was initially diagnosed with severe atopic dermatitis. And then the treatments that we had tried from there to when he was admitted to the hospital at 6 months old, which is, the 4-month time span there, various treatments had failed him. And due to him losing weight, he was declining in health and was labeled failure to thrive. So there was a 4-month window there. I would say they were able to then eliminate all the other diagnoses that they had at the hospital stay at 6 months old, to then saying it was just eczema. But of course that was hard to hear, because oftentimes I would think, no one knew up until that 6-month period that he was dealing with only just eczema. I would question whether or not it was cancer almost, because at that point you would want a definitive answer, so then you could have a path of treatment. And I didn't feel that we had any answers when we were dealing with just eczema. I feel that eczema is just a word that is commonly used, but also improperly used. You see a rash and everyone commonly comments that it's just a rash. But to see my child the way that he was, that's definitely more than just a rash. So I do feel that there's not enough information, at least when I was going through it. I felt like there was not enough information and resources for me to properly educate myself on what we were dealing with. I feel like just having the support system, especially for our teen, I'm concerned for my son for when he hits those years. And like I mentioned, he's only 7, he'll be 8 soon, but I'm not naive to the fact that he couldn't have a flare up in the future, and he has to deal with it as a teenager. And I just want him to know that outside of me, he does have other children or other teens that go through it and have that support. And I feel like that's the community that needs the support the most, honestly. It's already an awkward stage being a teenager, but then not feeling like you can talk to someone about a skin disease that you have can take a mental toll, for sure. And my recommendations and tip I would give to parents who are going through it would be to find your people, find a tribe of people who understand exactly what you're going through, because it's exhausting to explain to people who don't get it. And just being able to talk about it can be very therapeutic and cathartic. I actually created a photo album that is pretty thick, as you can see, of over 3,000 photos that I took of my son from the very beginning to when he was much better. So over probably a year's worth of photos, but he doesn't remember what he went through, and I find solace in that. But I have this book to show him, and I'm thankful that he doesn't remember any of it, but I use this way it was very cathartic for me to put into a book and see where we've come from, and for him to have hopefully compassion for others who aren't so lucky. Regarding the diagnosis portion of it, I felt that we were kind of initially, when we met with one of the top pediatric dermatologists in our state at the time where we were living, it was very much brushed off as it was not a big deal. And for him to just say, "Oh, this is just eczema," was really disheartening. And I didn't feel any compassion from him. And I'm not expecting someone to like coddle me, but to have a professional tell me that, "Oh, this is just eczema, we'll just slap some steroids on it, it'll be good," was really hard to hear as a parent, especially as a first-time parent who's going through it. It's not easy to navigate through those emotions and process the information that's being thrown at you, especially when it's just so flippant. I feel like, when you find a doctor who understands and shows you that compassion, hold on to them and have them help you advocate for your child, because we had to go through quite a bit of doctors to get to the right one. And I'm thankful that we pushed on. Oftentimes I never had the energy or the strength. I didn't feel that I had the strength to continue on, but I had to keep going.